Hey guys, welcome to Tuesday, April 7th. Let me just start by saying what a great job you are doing getting everything done, taking notes, doing the assignment, grading it in pen, getting it uploaded. I am just so proud of your progress, so great job on that. Also, a quick reminder, we do have math help session Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday at 1 o'clock. So every day except for Wednesday. And the meeting code is math1. Also, if you're just having a hard time with something, you can shoot me a message on the Google chat, or you can email me and I would be happy to find a time to help you. So let me talk to you about where we're going. This week we're going to finish up this chapter for the most part. So today we're going to be talking about congruent and similar figures. Tomorrow we're going to talk about circles. Thursday we're going to do basically just a chapter review. That'll be a Google form. There's no school Friday, and then next Monday when you come back we will do the math test. After that, we're going to get into a chapter on perimeter and area. We're going to do a fun project where you have the opportunity to create your very own floor plan, and that has just been a huge success in years past, so I really think you guys are going to enjoy that. So let's hop into today, congruent and similar figures. We're going to identify congruent and similar polygons, identify corresponding angles and line segments, and write a ratio for corresponding sides in a pair of polygons. Today you just need the typical items, your math notebook, pencil, pen, and your math book. Alright, so first thing is congruent figures. When you take your test, it is super important that you know that congruent means the same. You'll be asked that question a lot. You'll be asked about congruent sides, congruent angles, congruent figures, and all of that just means the same. Congruent means the same. This is our sign for congruent. It's an equal sign with like a little squiggly line above it. So since congruent means the same, congruent figures are the same size and shapes. In congruent polygons, the corresponding angles have the same measurement and corresponding sides are the same length. So here's what I'm talking about when I say corresponding sides. It's like this side over here is the same as this side over here. And I want to show you a little something about that, because sometimes they might, and I will do this here in the next couple slides, they might kind of flip you the figures around. So if we have A, B, C, D, and you guys will just have to assume that my drawing is perfectly congruent, even though we know I couldn't possibly do that, right? And then let's say we have X, Y, Z, W. Okay, you would have to pretend that you flipped this. So our corresponding sides here are A and Z. I hope that kind of makes sense. It's hard when you can't ask questions, but we're going to pretend we flip it so that they are the exact mirror image of each other, right? So we would have angle A and angle Z are congruent. Angle B and angle W are congruent, okay, because we're pretending that we flipped this. Angle D and angle Y are congruent. Whoop, sorry about that. Okay, and then angle C and angle X are congruent. So it could be turned around, things like that. So you'll either have to turn it yourself and then rewrite things the way they should be, or just kind of picture that. So here, if triangle ABC is congruent to triangle XYZ, then angle A and angle X are congruent. That means they have the same measurement. B and Y are congruent. C and Z are congruent. So the same is true with our sides. If these are the exact same, then AB is congruent to XY. We call those corresponding sides. BC is congruent to YZ. And CA is congruent to ZA. So if you need to, pause this, get that down. When I'm checking your notes, I am looking that we're getting all of these examples in there, please. All right, so here again, this is really a very similar thing. You don't need to redraw your pictures, but I do want you to write this. So because we said angle A and angle X are congruent, that means if angle A is 60 degrees, angle X is also 60 degrees, right? Same thing here. If we say that side AB is 3 inches, here's how we would write that. Okay, and this is how it'll ask you in your homework. It'll say something to the effect of, if AB equals 3 inches, then what side over here also equals 3 inches? So we're looking for the corresponding side. This isn't the corresponding side. It's not the same as this, right? This one here is. So ZW would also equal 3 inches. So just keep that in mind, that the figures can be flipped and turned. So you'll have to look and see which side matches up with which one perfectly. Now that gets a little trickier as we get into similar figures. This is our sign for a similar figure. It's like a little swervy equals, like it's almost equals, but not quite. So similar figures have the same shape, but not the same size. The figure was enlarged or reduced to form a similar figure. So think about a photographer. We've talked about this with models, right? If I start with the original photograph, I can shrink it down so that all the things are corresponding, and we have the exact same thing just in a smaller version. We've talked about that a lot with like a building model or a model of a car, right? They take everything and they shrink it down by the exact same amount. So similar polygons are going to have corresponding angles that are the same measure. So your angle measurements don't change, and then your corresponding sides that are proportional. So remember we talked about proportional. That means if you shrink one side, maybe by 3 times, you shrink it 3 times smaller, then the other side you also have to shrink down 3 times smaller. Everything has to be either reduced or enlarged by the exact same amount. Okay, so here's how we would write that these triangles are similar. Now this is important for your homework. When you are writing that a triangle is similar or congruent to another triangle, we're always going to put the triangle sign. If it's a quadrilateral, so knowing how to name these is important. If it's a quadrilateral, A, B, C, D, we just list it A, B, C, D. So if I was saying that quadrilateral is similar to W, X, Y, Z, we would just write it like this. But a triangle, we put the triangle sign. If they're circles, it's named by the point in the circle. And guys, I know I'm getting a little off the notes, but this is going to come up in your assignment, so I want to make sure you know. If it's a circle, we name it like this. We put a dot with a circle, so A is similar to circle B. All right, so circles, get the little circle. Triangles, get a triangle. And then any polygon that is 4-sided or greater, you list all the sides and just kind of go in order. It doesn't necessarily matter where you start, just go in order. All right, so that's how we name those correctly. So this is showing us the triangle ABC is similar to triangle. Now here's one where it's flipped, XYZ. So we need to pay attention to which sides correspond with which sides. So we can tell, right, that we've got like this right angle here with angle A. So that means that this is the proportionate side, the corresponding side over here. Okay, so angle X is equal to angle A. So A and X. Angle B is equal to angle Y. Remember, your angles, when it's similar, they're still the same. Angle C is equal to angle Z. And then these are our corresponding sides. Side AB is similar. Now our sides are similar, not equal. Okay? So AB is similar to XY. BC, here's BC, is similar to YZ. So really pay attention to making sure that we're talking about the correct corresponding sides. And then CA is similar to ZX or XZ, either way. All right? I feel like there might be questions on that, so make sure you ask if you have them. Okay? So you don't need to draw this again, but you could just write this. So if angle A equals 90 degrees, then we know angle X also equals 90 degrees. Now, here's what I want you to see. We're going to talk about ratios or proportions. So if AB is 4 inches and XY is 2 inches, then the ratio is 4/2, or 2:1. So write that down, and here in a second, I'm going to explain writing those ratios or proportions a little more, because you will need to do this on your homework. All right? So to find the ratio of a similar figure, we're going to create a fraction and reduce it. You're going to leave it as an improper fraction. That's going to seem kind of weird, but just leave it as an improper fraction. Whichever image, whichever picture or polygon they show first, that's your numerator, and then the second one is your denominator, then you reduce it. And see how I left this as an improper fraction. A congruent figure will always have a ratio of 1:1. And we leave it as an improper fraction because that's how we would read it, is 1:1, or 4:2, or 8:4, whatever the case may be. Okay, so here's our example. In this quadrilateral, we have 8 here. That becomes our numerator. 4 here. So these are the corresponding sides, right? If we flipped it, those would be the sides that match up. 8:4, we're going to reduce that. You can divide 8 and 4 by 4. 8 divided by 4 is 2. 4 divided by 4 is 1. So our ratio is 2:1, and we're just going to leave it like that. Okay? And again, if they're congruent, they will ask you this in your homework. You'll have to answer, is it similar or congruent? And what is the ratio? If it's congruent, you really don't need to do the work. It's 1:1. All right, here's our, I believe, last example before our homework. So our first picture is 4, and our second picture is 6. Okay, so 4 to 6, we can divide 4 and 6 by 2. So that reduces to 2:3. So our ratio here is 2:3. All right, I want you to pause this, and I want you to complete pages 134 and 135. You're going to do 1 through 5 odds. So you're writing a statement. So when we write a statement, let's talk about this. Okay, writing a statement, if they are congruent, these are not congruent, but if they were congruent, we would say triangle ABC is congruent to triangle XYZ. But since they're similar, we're going to say triangle ABC is similar to triangle XYZ. Okay, so you're naming this polygon, and then you're either saying similar or congruent using the symbol, and then this polygon. So again, if it's a circle, use the little circle. If it's a triangle, use the triangle. Anything greater than that, you just list out the letters, put your symbol in the middle, list out the other letters. All right, and then on 10 through 23, you just need to complete the sentences to make them true on the first part. On the second part, there's 2 directions. You need to tell if they are congruent or similar. and you need to put the ratio. So pause this and come on back. We will grade it. All right, welcome back. Please make sure that you are grading in pen. I want to know that you are going over the things that you missed. Please make corrections right there on the paper as well. Look back in your book. Knowing what you missed is going to help you do really well on the quizzes, okay? All right, let's talk about these. So hopefully you named these things correctly. If you didn't, you need to go back through and look at it and make sure you know how to name things correctly. So we have triangle ARF is similar to triangle EMB. Number 3, right, we've got squares, so QRST is congruent to UVWX. Now these don't necessarily have to be listed in this order. It could say RSTQ is congruent to VWXU or something like that, okay? Getting all those letters in the right order is what matters, that you're just kind of going around the shape in order. Number 5, we've got a quadrilateral here. AEIO is congruent to BCDF. On number 10, it showed you 2 shapes, and so you're looking at which sides are congruent to which sides. So on number 10, OP was congruent to UV. Number 11, angle M was congruent to angle S. Number 12, MN was congruent to ST. 13, angle P is congruent to angle V. 14, if side NO is 6 centimeters, then that means TU is also 6 centimeters. I don't know why this has an extra little arrow there. Sorry about that. It should just be our little line. Number 15, if MP is 4 centimeters, then SV is also 4 centimeters. 16, if angle O is 90 degrees, then angle U is also 90 degrees. And the last one on that section, if angle N is 50 degrees, then angle T is also 50 degrees. Okay, and then on this second section, hopefully you put 2 answers. If not, go back through, just pause it now and try to do that on your own. So number 1 was similar. We would have started with 3 to 6 and reduced it to 1 to 2. 19, congruent, so it's 1 to 1. 20, we would have started with 8 to 2 and reduced that to 4 to 1, and it's similar. 21 is congruent, so it's 1 to 1. 22, 2 to 1, that can't be reduced, it's similar. And then the last one, also congruent, is 1 to 1. So I feel like this is probably one of the harder lessons we've done so far. Please, please reach out to me if you have questions. If you missed quite a few of these, then you probably need to ask questions. At least make sure that you go back through and see what you missed and get those uploaded. You're doing a great job. I will see you tomorrow.